Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet home Chicago.
Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman in the business today, Sonny Hersh, and your host, Avi Meyers.
They call him Marty, faster than lightning. No one. Hey, Marty, how's it going? Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Avi Meyers here at Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. Community policing, a very important thing. Go to your local CAPS meetings. If you live in West Rogers Park or Rogers Park, you can go to caps24.org to find your meeting. Otherwise, go to 311 to find out where in the city your community policing meeting is. And, as Joe Chukche, who brought our next guest, has already said, our next guest needs no introduction. We're talking about the Alderman of the 50th Ward, Alderman Berny Stone. How you doing?
Hi, Avi.
Anyway, how's City Council today a little bit?
Well, we had a few committee meetings today. We're back after Labor Day, laboring.
Okay.
Okay.
And how's the parking situation?
So far, no complaints.
Okay, and basically to let people know, you've allowed some parking at certain points that wasn't allowed before? Is that how it wound up working out? Or?
Actually, what we did is we changed some of the regulations on the residential parking. We had some recommendations came up at that meeting that we had with the new community organization.
The Westridge Community Council, which
Yes.
Sonny and I were very privileged to actually our very first live over the internet production.
Yeah, and I understand that was really one of the first times it was done. We established, we broke a lot of new ground, I guess. In any event...
actually, Sonny and I, people have approached Sonny and I, we're doing more of that coming up in the future.
Well, I think we're going to do it also out of the aldermanic offices, too.
Cool.
And as soon as I can get Comcast to set up the aldermanic offices so that we can do it directly from there. So in any event, we had received some suggestions not only from the various organizations, but from some of the individuals who live in the area. And I thought some of them were worthy of instituting. And so if you'll recall, there was a council meeting immediately following that community meeting. And so I introduced almost immediately thereafter, if I remember correctly, the meeting was on a Monday or Tuesday, and the council meeting was on the following Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So I introduced some ordinances amending the residential parking, and we then had it passed by the traffic committee, and we instituted them immediately, and I'm hoping it'll work out very well.
Yeah, I hope so. Let me ask you, because Devon Avenue in general, it seems like every year maybe there's a little bit more scuzzy type people. I mean, there's more hookers and panhandlers. Anything that can be done about that sort of thing, or any advice?
Well, we are doing something about it. We know that we have the TAC team has been alerted, and the TAC team is in fact working exactly on that. In addition to which, working on the particularly on the prostitution and on some of the assaults that were occurring not necessarily on Devon Avenue, but immediately off of Devon Avenue.
You mean to the girls on the bikes and things like that, or
Well,
the girls coming home from school? Or
what we had is, in particular, on Maplewood and not so much on Campbell, but on Maplewood, we had individuals leaving alone after services, leaving at the mosque. If they would leave alone, they would get assaulted about Rosemont, and it'd be a gang of 4 who would hold them down and then empty their pockets of money and their wallets and so forth. And then there would be a car that would follow up, and they'd all jump in the car after assaulting the individual. And we pointed this out to the police department. The problem is that people don't, unless they're seriously hurt, don't report these incidents. And
that's a big problem. People need to call 911 on a regular basis.
I mean, you and Sonny are active in our beats, our CAPS organization, so you're aware of this, and but the general public doesn't realize how important it is that the police be aware of these things. Well, in any event.
Yeah, the people don't report it. The police don't know, so they don't know to look for
that's
somebody.
That's right, and it's
There's
not
also
and
a pattern.
It's not part of their you mentioned patterns. It's not part of their computer printouts. No, it's all right. Okay. It's not part of their printouts on their computer, and as a result, they're not aware of where it's occurring. The computer printout, of course, spots the trouble spots. It's just like when we put up a camera, we find that gangs and crime moves a block away or 2 blocks away. Well, nobody's going to perform a crime directly under the camera. They move a block away.
Right. Now, it seems like there's a police camera going up now about Devon in California.
Yes. And they put in these traffic cameras, real nice. You're going to get a guy going through a red light, but that doesn't impress me. I want to get rid of the gangs and the assaults and the prostitutes. I don't really care about the people going through red lights.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in getting rid of the criminal acts as opposed to the semi-criminal acts.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but there was some recent cutbacks, and it's citywide, and a lot of people, I haven't experienced it yet, but there's been cutbacks in the CAMPS program.
There's cutbacks in every program. I don't have to. I mean, let's face it. We're $400 million in the hole right as of this moment. Now, I'm hoping that some of the programs which I've called attention to the mayor and to his financial people repeatedly since last year will be implemented, and will be able to produce the revenues that I expect it to be able to produce, and as a result, we can avoid the continued cutbacks. I'm not interested in saving necessarily unnecessary jobs, but I am interested in keeping necessary jobs. Now, one of the things that I pointed out last year and wasn't done, and as a result, I was almost like Nostradamus. I said that we were going to get killed on the real estate transfer tax, and we got killed on the real estate transfer tax.
Yeah, I remember you called that, because that's a huge tax that shouldn't be.
I said that we were going to. Our estimates were at least $50 million off, and I was wrong. We were $55 million off.
Wow.
And at the briefing, that we had on the budget shortfall, they admitted that, yes, you told us so. Okay. I said, so what are you going to do about it? I said, I gave you a method by which you could stimulate the sale of real estate. And the method was very simple. I gave them the sale of public land. Now, when things are bad, that's the time to sell public land. And why do I say that? You don't sell land when the market is booming because nobody's going to buy it. There's no bargain. When you sell the land is when the market is off, because then you can give people a bargain. When you give people a bargain, then people will buy. And if people buy, that stimulates the market. So what I'm trying to do is convince them, here we are. They admit to maybe 13 to 14 million parcels of real estate.
Wow.
No, not million, excuse me, 1,000.
Oh, that's a little better.
That's still a lot of real estate.
It is a lot, yeah.
They admit to that.
And it puts it on the tax roll.
That's exactly right. They're not getting any taxes on that property. But they have probably 3 or 4 times as much as they're admitting to. Now,
Wow.
but even if it's only that amount, some of those pieces are worth as much as $20 and $40 million.
Wow.
And not only is the value of those properties coming back to being cashed in by the city, but in addition to that, as you have indicated, it puts the property back on the tax rolls, and it brings in taxes to the city. But more important, it gives an incentive to recreate a stimulus to the building market, that somebody's going to build on that property. And that, in addition to just putting the property back on the tax rolls, it increases the value of the property on the tax rolls and brings in even more money to the property. Now, there's one parcel. Let me just give you an example. Sure. Out on the west side, where the old Washburn Trade School was. Now, this is down
on Kedzie.
On Kedzie, around 22nd Street.
Yeah, near the Stevenson.
That parcel by itself is worth somewhere between 15 and 20, maybe $30 million. It has sat vacant for somewhere between 10 and 15 years.
Wow.
It is owned by the Board of Education. Now, here's the Board of Education crying for money. And they're sitting on a vacant parcel of land that could be converted to enough money to build an elementary school.
Yeah.
Now, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now, it's only one parcel. One parcel.
Yeah.
There are parcels owned by the city that are very similar to the Washburn Trade School. And they sit vacant, fallow, growing weeds. Why? Now, in some cases, the city wants to develop them and do so for planned developments. Okay, I understand that. So there are some parcels that you want to keep to put them together with other parcels. That's understandable. But not all, by their count, 14,000 parcels.
Wow.
By my count, 50,000 parcels.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. That's just one. That's just one method by which the city could be bringing in money. I was approached about 3 or 4 months ago by an individual who has patented and copyrighted an idea. The idea is fabulous. It's the sale of art. Art has no listed value. Art is priceless. The city has an uncountable, a portfolio that we have absolutely no idea how much we have of art.
Yeah. I mean, public buildings and statues.
Every public building for the last 30 years has required that 1% of its value has to be put into public art.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's called the 1% program.
Okay.
So if you build a building for $50 million, you have to have 1%.
500,000.
500,000 a piece of art.
Wow.
Now, art appreciates.
Yeah.
In the Board of Education, back in the Depression time, we had the WPA and other programs where artists painted murals, painted all kinds of things. And as a matter of fact, some of the great artists, they painted over some of their great works.
Oh, wow.
We have found that some of the great muralists from Mexico, some of their work, still in the Board of Education, has been whitewashed or painted over.
Wow.
Millions upon millions of dollars of art is laying in basements all over the city of Chicago.
Wow.
Now, if I told you in City Hall, there's probably, just in City Hall,
Yeah.
$50 million worth of art.
Wow.
Now, we're not talking about selling it,
Okay.
not outright. They're talking about we would sell it with the agreement that you can take possession 50 years from now.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you can get a little plaque that says this is owned by so-and-so.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think Pepsi-Cola would pay for the Picasso?
Oh. Probably, that's a world famous.
What do you think that Pepsi-Cola would pay for the Picasso? Do you think they might pay how many million?
The Pepsi
Pepsi
Picasso
Cola?
it alliterates too.
How much do you think they'd pay for the Picasso?
A lot of money.
How much do you think that Coca-Cola would pay for the Moreau?
Oh wow. You could, yeah, millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, between all the stuff around, yeah, you could raise millions and millions.
And all they get is a little owned by.
Okay.
You think that would bring in a few dollars to the city of Chicago?
I think it just might. I think it's got some
Well,
serious
this
potential.
morning,
Yeah.
while I was in the traffic committee, the individual who came to me with this idea was meeting with the financial geniuses that run the city of Chicago. And I hope that he got through to them, because I assure you that they could make millions upon millions upon millions upon millions. If they just sold a few items, they could meet the shortfall. Believe me.
Wow.
Believe me, they could meet the shortfall.
It sounds like the assets are definitely there between the properties and the art things. You're right. That's a brilliant idea.
It
really
is a brilliant idea. Well, he gets, of course, a small percentage for the idea.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
But I say more power to him. If he came up with this idea, hey, my friend, it's a good idea. You got the Park District. You got the Board of Education. Listen, yes, the state is a bunch of bums that have never met their obligation.
Right. With the schools.
With the
obviously.
schools, they have never met their obligation. But you want to fund these things? Here's a way to fund them. Here's a way to fund them. The state pulled this this monkey business with the lottery, where they said we'll use the lottery to fund the schools, and then they took the lottery and they used the money from the lottery to fund the schools, but then they withdrew all the monies that they previously funded the schools and replaced it with the lottery.
Yeah.
So they didn't give you a dime. What they did is they pulled a switch. It's the old bait and switch game.
Yeah.
But here's a way to fund it, and it's a great idea. But you know, I said to our chief financial officer, I said, you know, you may call me P.T. Barnum. I don't care what you call me, but I'll give you a way. I'll give you a way to meet your shortfall, and I'll give you a way to find monies without dipping into that loaf of bread you got over in the bank. You know, everybody keeps forgetting Chicago is in great financial shape. No matter how much they cry, no matter how much they say, we still got $800 million in the bank.
Oh, because of the Skyway.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it brings in $72 million worth of interest every year.
Which is terrific.
Bing, bing, bing. Because they listen to the cash register. And we are financial ratings. We have a AAA financial rating. They all love us. All the bonding agencies love us. And that's because we got that money in the bank. And we shouldn't touch that money in the bank. The mayor's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So quit picking on the mayor. Quit because of the Olympics. We're in great financial shape. We should remain in great financial shape. Senator Meeks, you're right. Real estate taxes shouldn't be funding the schools. He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because it does result in an unequal education for people. But in the meantime, you don't help children by pulling them out of school. That's ridiculous.
No, that is ridiculous, and it hurts a lot of the funding formula.
But what you've got to do is wake up people down in Springfield. Now, I told them not to use the transfer tax, but you see they get caught in this.
You know about the real estate transfer tax?
They use the real estate transfer tax to fund the CTA.
Okay.
It was a mistake.
Yeah.
I told them it was a mistake. And you see, the head of the Transportation Committee is a suburban legislator. It's our lady representative from Evanston.
Oh, Julie Hamos, sure.
Julie Hamos. She doesn't understand what may work yesterday won't work tomorrow.
Yeah.
She found a good thing, and she thinks it'll continue to work every day. It doesn't work every day. I warned her it wouldn't work. The market is changing.
Yeah.
The real estate market is a very kinetic and fast-moving market. It changed. She shouldn't have used it. She should have found something else. But she insisted on using it. It was a mistake. And what you got to do is come up with new ideas like using the art funding.
Which is a great idea.
You've got to come up with new ideas at all times. Sale of public land, it's not new, but it's an idea that has its time, and this was the time to use it because it meets three different aims. It stimulates the real estate market. It puts vacant land back on the tax rolls, and it brings in money to the city, which needs the money at the given time.
Yeah, everybody and their grandmother are getting a traffic ticket for sneezing because the city needs the money.
Yeah, and that is another thing. You know, it's not only that. It's not only the idea of unneeded fines for traffic. What about housing? We send out the crews of building inspectors, and what do? They find problems in buildings, and They do what they're supposed to do. They issue citations and bring the people into building court. And what do they do in building court? They fine the people for not repairing their building. That isn't what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is have the people repair their buildings.
Yeah.
Not fine them. Have them repair their buildings. And as if they repair their buildings, reward them. Don't fine them.
Yeah.
Reward them.
They're gouging people right and left. I know plenty of instances.
And what happens? And the little guy, the guy who wants to keep up his property, the guy who really goes to great pains to keep up his property, besides finally getting his property fixed, still gets fined. The big guy who carries it on and keeps going and doesn't do a thing and gets his lawyer to continue the case and meantime doesn't fix it. Meantime has his tenant have to live in this unfixed property. He gets away with it. And the little guy breaks his back to get his property fixed and then gets fined anyway. Well, that's not right.
No, it's not right at all. And there's a lot too much of that going on.
And that's what happens. So the purpose of the court should be to get the property fixed. That's not the purpose of the courts. And that's what's wrong with part of the system. But and that's what should be corrected in the adjudication, in the court of adjudication. But unfortunately, that's the reason I've been a constant critic of it, and that's the reason I call it the ka-ching court.
It is.
And because it is.
It is. There's people. I mean, it's highway robbery what they're doing to people.
And traffic tickets, housing tickets. These are what they're doing there. That's why I've accused the director of revenue of shaking dead bodies to get the change that falls out of the pockets. But and I don't have anything against them individually. It's just that it's the wrong way to approach the problem. And the hearing officers, they get judged not by what they do, but rather how much money they bring in. And that's the wrong type of judgment. The judgment should be on how much how good they handle the case, not on how much money they bring in. So these are what I see as the wrong way to handle these adjudications.
Well, at this point, we've got about 1 minute and 5 seconds left.
What's happening in the ward?
Yeah, you got a whole 20 seconds before we have to wrap up. Go ahead. Well, we did talk about Devon.
Well, the parking lot is going very well. I expect by early winter that we should be able to start parking cars, and that's good news.
It's good. And that's good to hear. And at this point, any other new buildings, just real quick, or?
Well, there's going to be a lot. There's a lot of new buildings coming up, and Devon is going to have a new face, and we're going to get our money for landscaping also on Devon.
Sounds good. At this point, I want to thank my guest, the Alderman of the 50th Ward, Berny Stone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Chuck Shea, for bringing him. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh. Among the guests you'll be seeing in the next couple of weeks include State's Attorney Dick Devine, Anita Alvarez, who is the Democratic candidate for State's Attorney, Senator Ira Silverstein. We have Judge Michael Hyman, Deborah Walker, who's running for judge. Coming up on a future show, we're looking at a number of other officials. We're trying to line you up some congressional candidates from more than one district. I think Steve Greenberg, who's running against Melissa Bean's the only one I've got booked now. In any event, we are out of time, so I want to thank Sonny, and don't blame Marty for the haircut. And stay tuned next week, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, be well.